All right, guys, thank you so much for joining. This was super helpful to myself personally in helping grow and balance my wealth. It was something that I didn't ever track and keep track of until about 2 years ago. And it was just eye-opening to be able to see it all in one place. And so I really, really encourage you to take the time to start this process. It will be something that will be super beneficial to you. So if you go to the Google Sheet for the net worth that we shared with you, when you access that, it is a copy. So it's going to ask you to make a copy of it. I purposely set it up that way, guys, so that you could go in and it would force you to make your own copy so that you could update that and it wouldn't be something that someone else would end up seeing. So go ahead and click the make a copy button. This is going to open it up and say copy of net worth sheet. At that point, you can go in and make it a E-SADI, so name it yourself of net worth sheet if you'd like. If you want to verify who can see that, guys, the way that you're going to do that in Google Sheets is you can come over here to the share button here. And if you click on that, it's going to show you who has access to it. So that'll reassure you too. I know that for many people, this is something that's kind of more of a private matter and in some ways that they wouldn't want everyone to be able to see. So you'll be able to see here that you're the only one that can view it. If there's a time in which you want to share this with a significant other or a financial advisor or a business partner, you could obviously share it and you would see who has access to it here. But be reassured, that's a way to check to make sure who all is able to view the net worksheet that you're working from. And then this is something that Lucas mentioned that was really helpful, and it was a big aha to myself. You're going to see all of the things we're going to list, all of our assets and our liabilities in column B. So they're going to be, or column AB here on the left. So we're going to list everything out there. And then as we go across the columns, there's a different column for each month of the year. And so he does it in this sort so that it's easy for him to see the changes between the accounts throughout the year. And so note that's why we've got a different column for each time of the year. And then it's also where he can go and see kind of as a total how that makes a difference across the year. We've also worked in where there is a percentage of change. So it will compare the numbers for December 2020 to December 2021 and show you what the change has been in that 1 year's time. So that's just to see, what improvement, what percentage of improvement or maybe or not has happened over a year's time. And so that is here, this calculation in this column R on the far right. Okay, so what I would suggest is, again, it's a work in progress. So don't feel that you've got to sit down and enter everything on day one. It's totally acceptable to sit down and enter your primary checking account and maybe your business checking account, and then add what you think the value is for any real estate that you own. And then if you need to go to an appointment or go do something, go do it and then come back. So it's totally a work in progress, but where you're going to enter checking accounts is under the bank accounts here at the top. So all of the assets are in green, in different shades of green, but you would list your personal account here. And the way I would recommend listing that would be to put in Schwab. So like if Charles Schwab is where you hold your personal checking account, you could put Charles Schwab. I do recommend that you include the last 4 digits of the account. It's helpful in the future if you ever need to go back and reconcile between the different accounts. It is helpful to be able to have it referenced here on what account it is. Oops. So I apologize. If you ever this is, there you go. And I would only put the last 4, and that should be fine for your reference purposes. I wouldn't put the entire account number there, just for the fact that if anyone were to come across the spreadsheet, they wouldn't have all of the information. So then people often ask, how do you determine what day of the month that you're going to enter a balance? And I would say that my process has always just been to go in and do it somewhat around the same time. So as I'm working on a budget for the household, to go in and update it at that point. But really, guys, there's no way to go wrong here. It'd be nice to do it similar time of every month, but if it's on the 10th one month and ends up being on the 14th another month that you go in and update everything, so be it. So you're going to go in and you would enter your checking account balance. So if we've got in our primary checking account $6,782.12, we're going to enter that here. Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger, guys. If we have in another bank account, maybe that we have that is a business account, you might enter BOK, real estate account. And maybe in that one we have $11,221. So again, you're entering what the current balance is. It's okay if we're not doing it consistently. You could also go off of a bank statement, but I know that a lot of times different accounts have different dates in which those statements run on. So if you just sign in at everything on a day and go through and update it, that is totally acceptable. Now, if you say, okay, Elizabeth, but I have an additional checking account, what do I do now? You need to add an additional checking account. Then you would click on that row and you're going to right click. So click on the number of the row on the far left. And then we're going to click insert row and you're going to get to choose above or below. So we're going to do above because we want it to be in the section for personal checking. I would then say that you want to go and copy if you want to have, if you're like me and you are kind of an OCD about all of your columns looking the same, you can go and copy a blank row so that you have your zeros going all the way across. And then you're able to add the name of that bank. So if we've got US Bank as additional checking account, we could add that number here. Now I want to show you too, so that when you add that in that fashion, it is going to include it in your total here at the bottom. So this dark greens is just going to total the total bank accounts, cash and bank accounts. And as you can see, if you ever want to check to see what it is it's totaling, you can click in that field. And then up here at the formula bar, it's going to show you exactly what it is it's calculating. And when you click on that bar and you click in that field, it's going to highlight, if you go over those cells, it'll highlight what cells it is that it's adding up for you. So it is always good to do a little bit of checks and balances, especially if you're adding or deleting rows as you go through this, guys, so that you make sure that it's calculating all of the correct forms. A net worksheet's not going to be any good if it's not calculating the correct forms or the correct fields. Okay. So moving on, and you would go on to continue to add your savings accounts. I guess if this is our business account, I apologize, guys. We would want to insert that down here. Look, I'm messing up my own sheet. All right. And again, you guys can do this in whichever way makes sense to you. To organize your balance, your net worksheet that works well for you and you feel comfortable using. So if you've got separate accounts with a spouse, or if you're on, you've got different businesses, you can arrange this in any way that you'd like. Okay, in the next section, it's other assets, which would be what we've listed here as real estate. So one of the things that Lucas recommended in the way that I've always kind of calculated my real estate is he suggests 90% of what the market value is for a quick sale. I would say that I often find that I also use a very conservative number for my real estate. I think personally, I've always been really hard on my own personal real estate and not wanting to overvalue it. But it's helpful not to include a pie in the sky number here. So if there is a street address for the house, and you want to come over and enter in what you feel the value is for that property. So if we're going to say, I think that I could easily sell the house I own on Main Street for $450,000, you're going to enter $450,000 here. And you would do that for any other property. So if it would be investment property that you have, or if you've got a second home, anything of that sort, you would go ahead and enter a line here for that. And again, if we need to enter multiple lines, we can just click on the line, the row that we want to add above. We're going to right click, insert above, and then you can copy and paste so that you can carry that formatting across there. All right, next section we'll be covering vehicles. So here you want to go and insert what you feel the value is for the vehicles that you own. And this is what it would be for if you resold it. So you get to choose if your comfort level and the way that you conduct business is that you prefer to handle those sales yourselves, or if it's the trade-in value that you would get if you went and traded in the vehicle. That's what you're going to want to list here. So we're going to say our Toyota Tundra. And when we go into Kelley Blue Book says that I could trade this in, and I traditionally just trade my vehicles in. I could trade it in for $34,150. So that'll be what we would insert here for the asset value for that line. And I would say that with your Kelley, or with your vehicles and such, you probably don't have to go and run the Kelley Blue Book every single month. That might be something that you could just update the value on that quarterly. Same, and you guys as real estate agents know on that real estate piece, whether or not there's been a huge spike in the value of a property, that, or not. I usually too don't make updates to the real estate value every single month. I do that kind of only when there's really been a radical change in the market. That still remains consistent, month over month. Okay, so we're going to list out any vehicles. So if you've got vehicles for a significant other or a spouse, all of those will be listed out here under vehicles. Moving on, if you've got any other assets like boats, trailers, motorcycles, or anything of significant value there, we would enter those here under the section for other boats, trailers, bikes, etc. So let's say I've got my fishing boat. You guys know how I like to fish. And when I look up the value on that, it comes back as being $12,700. Again, when the way that this worksheet is set up, this Networth Worksheet is set up, is it's going to total everything in this section. So the top green bar here and the bottom green bar is this section is getting totaled. And so the total for other assets is $496,850. Next, our next line items, or our next group of assets that we're going to enter here are investments. So we're going to enter in our retirement. So if that's your 401k or all of those different accounts, those would be our IRAs. You guys can tell I know a lot about my investment accounts, right? So you're going to enter your IRA over here. You would add what you've currently got held in that investment, that retirement account, so $24,000 in that account. If you have a pension, that would be something else that you're going to want to put in a value that's a little bit more difficult because that has a future value to it. But typically, I've always entered that pension as just what its current value is. So that would be another thing to consider adding. Your non-retirement investments, guys. What is different about this section is that those non-retirement investments are ones that you have access to. So maybe it's a money market account, or and so it's not something that's tied up in a 401k that you're going to get a penalty from pulling from. So that's what's different about the non-retirement investment versus retirement. So there, maybe we have in another Charles Schwab account, we've got $43,000 that we're kind of playing around with in here. Any questions there, guys? All right. The next section, other business investments, current value. This section, the intention of this section were to be if you've got ownership in other businesses, so you've got where you own a portion of a business and you've got shares in that business. So let's say that you've invested $50,000 in a business and you own 10 shares of it. So that would be where you would be able to put in that business. So maybe it's a dog grooming business that you've got ownership in, and you're going to enter that value of those current value of those shares here. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, excellent. So now in our other our total investments, we've got $117,129 in that. Once you move here to the total assets, this dark green bar is adding up the totals for those three sections. So again, if you ever want to verify what exactly is being calculated in this spreadsheet, click on the cell, and then up here in the formula bar up in the top left, you're going to see what cells exactly it's using to add up. If you highlight that section, then you'll see that it also, or if you click in that formula bar, it's going to highlight what it is it's adding for quick reference as well. So you can see that we've got here that it's adding up D17, which is our total cash and bank accounts, D31, which is our total other assets, and D45, which is our total investments. So our total of all of our assets is $633,080.45. Yay, everybody good so far? Doing good? Excellent. Okay, now it's the fun part, guys. Now we get to add the different liabilities. So we're going to go in and add what our current mortgage is on that Main Street property. So we would say Main Street. And then this again is sometimes where it's helpful to enter what it is, and then I would put like Main Street. So BB&T is maybe where we hold that Main Street mortgage. And on the 400, it's worth 450,000 is what I feel like I could sell it for, and what it would sell for. And yet I'm going to enter for the mortgage on it. Maybe I owe on it 275,000. So that's what the payoff on the mortgage would be, is 275,000, or basically the balance on the mortgage. And I would say too, on your 450, we know as agents that we typically would be paying a commission to a buyer's agent. So it might be good to back that out of what value you're putting on your real estate property. Okay, if we had a second mortgage on the Main Street house, you would enter that here again under mortgage. So let's say that US Bank, we were carrying a second mortgage on Main Street, because we did a line of credit, guys, that would be entered here as well. I guess look at me, I'm messing myself up again. I've got my line of credit right down underneath here. So you can go in and add that second mortgage in that section. And it's going to total again for you everything that's under that mortgage section. Okay. Under the next is loans. So if we have any loans on the automobile, so if that Toyota Tundra, we had a loan with CarMax for them, we're going to enter what it is we owe on that car loan. So if on the car we owe $22,176, we're going to enter that balance. On my fishing boat, I own that buddy outright, so I own that thing outright. But if not, I would be entering what that loan amount is here under the other loans, boat, trailer, etc. And then finally, if we had any business loans, so if we've taken out any small business loans or any loans to start any other businesses, you would put that in this section here. Okay, so again, we're going to get a total. And if we ever want to check to see what it is it's totaling, you're going to click in that cell and then up on the formula bar, and it's going to highlight what exactly it is it's adding up for us. All right, another fun section, so our credit cards. So entering what the balance is on our credit cards, we would list those out here. And I haven't been doing this, guys, but again, if you can enter the last 4 digits, I would suggest that on your credit cards. It's just easier for when you're going back and referencing it later. Some of you may be, and I know that I typically have where all my credit cards are paid off every month. And so I don't carry a balance month to month on them. Sometimes though, I will go ahead and record what that balance was that month so that I can see kind of if there's fluctuation in that credit card every month. It's kind of a accountability there too. So if I charge to a credit card $4,400 and yet I pay it off that month, I still record the $4,400 on here just as a way to kind of keep an eye on that. Again, it's going to total all of those credit cards for us. And then finally, we'll see here when we click on the total liabilities, it's going to show us that our total liabilities, which if we click on the formulas, is going to be our total mortgages, total loans, and total credit cards. And so our total assets are $633,080.45. Our total liabilities are $329,376. So our current net worth is $303,000. Does that make sense? Okay, for some of us, this may be a number that is a negative number. That is okay. We can just, the point would be that we working towards making that a positive number and growing that number. Okay, is there anything else that I can help or any questions?
So since I was in a weird spot when I first got here, was there a way to actually access the spreadsheet?
Yes, and I will send that to you, Zach,
Okay.
and we sent this out, I think, prior to you joining. So I will send you a copy of it. But yep, and it'll prompt you to make your own copy. So.
Okay, perfect.
Excellent. Awesome. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I was just going to introduce myself to Katie, since now I'm officially, on video. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So are you also an agent? Like I said, I was in a weird spot earlier, so I couldn't hear everything.
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.